The New York Knicks suffered a disappointing defeat against the Phoenix Suns in what turned out to be a closely contested battle that came down to execution in the final minutes. The Suns emerged victorious with a final score of 112 to 107, behind a stellar performance from Devin Booker, who scored 31 points to lead Phoenix past New York. Leave your like and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any updates. This loss marks a troubling trend for the Knicks, who have now dropped 5 of their last 6 games despite holding the second position in the Eastern Conference standings. The team currently sits at 24 wins and 14 losses, but recent struggles suggest something is missing from their formula for success. The game's decisive moments came in the final 2 minutes, where championship-level basketball is won and lost. This is where mental toughness becomes more important than physical ability, and where possessions must be executed with precision. Unfortunately for New York, they found themselves on the wrong end of these crucial sequences against Phoenix. Point guard Jalen Brunson, who ranks 8th in the league, averaging 29.1 points per game, had a mixed performance. He finished with 27 points and 5 assists, but his fourth quarter production raised concerns. Brunson managed only 2 points in the final period, shooting just 1 for 6 from the field. Additionally, he committed 2 of his 4 turnovers during the game's final 2 minutes when the Knicks needed composure most. The Knicks employ a ball-dominant offensive system that runs primarily through Brunson, which has proven successful throughout the season. However, this style can become problematic in tight contests when defensive pressure intensifies and decision-making becomes critical. Against the Suns, this approach prevented New York from fully exploiting a significant size advantage they held in the paint. Big men Mitchell Robinson and Karl Anthony Towns completely dominated the rebounding battle against Phoenix's smaller front line. Towns contributed 15 points on 5 of 11 shooting while grabbing 12 rebounds, showcasing his versatility on both ends. Robinson came off the bench to provide 8 points on 4 of 5 shooting efficiency, along with an impressive 14 rebounds that gave the Knicks multiple second-chance opportunities. Despite this interior dominance, the Knicks failed to capitalize on the matchup advantage inside. The coaching staff and Brunson bear responsibility for not adjusting the offensive game plan to attack the paint more aggressively. This strategic oversight proved costly as the game remained competitive down the stretch. A critical turning point occurred midway through the third quarter when Phoenix went on a devastating 14-0 run over a 6-minute stretch. This surge gave the Suns a 92-80 advantage that the Knicks could never overcome despite several comeback attempts. The run featured clutch 3-point shooting from Royce O'Neal and Booker, who buried consecutive shots from beyond the arc to extend the lead. Unlike New York's isolation-heavy offense, Phoenix utilized constant ball movement and excellent floor spacing to create open looks. This unselfish approach generated high-quality shots that proved difficult for the Knicks defense to contest. Booker's 31-point performance showcased why he remains one of the league's premier scorers. He also added 8 assists, demonstrating his playmaking ability and willingness to involve teammates. The Suns' collective offensive execution contrasted sharply with the Knicks' reliance on individual creation. Both teams competed fiercely on the defensive end, making this a grinded-out contest where offensive efficiency and shot-making separated the winner from the loser. The Suns simply made more timely plays when it mattered most, particularly in the crucial final minutes. With this defeat, New York's losing streak reaches concerning proportions as they prepare to continue their West Coast road trip. The Knicks will face the Portland Trail Blazers on January 11th, seeking to snap this skid and rediscover the form that had them competing near the top of the Eastern Conference earlier in the season. Phoenix will look to build momentum from this victory when they host the Washington Wizards, also on January 11th, as they continue their homestand. The Suns demonstrated they can execute under pressure and deliver in clutch situations, qualities that will serve them well as the season progresses toward the playoffs. For New York, addressing these late-game execution issues becomes paramount. The talent is clearly present on the roster, but translating that talent into winning basketball during crunch time requires mental fortitude and disciplined decision-making. Coach Mike Brown will need to work with his players on maintaining composure when games hang in the balance. This loss provides valuable lessons that can be applied moving forward, assuming the team takes the feedback seriously and makes necessary adjustments to their approach. The New York Knicks find themselves at a pivotal moment in franchise history. After decades of disappointment and near misses, the Stars have aligned to present the organization with its best opportunity in years to capture the Eastern Conference and reach the NBA Finals for the first time since 1999. Currently sitting in second place in the Eastern Conference with a 24-14 record, the Knicks have established themselves as legitimate contenders. Nearly halfway through the regular season, this team has already accomplished significant milestones, including winning the in-season tournament. However, the real prize lies ahead, and the pathway appears clearer than it has been in recent memory. For the past 3 seasons, the Knicks have been among the top teams in the Eastern Conference, steadily building toward championship contention. The core group has gained valuable playoff experience together, learning what it takes to compete at the highest level. Now, with key pieces in place and favorable circumstances emerging across the conference, the time has arrived for New York to seize its moment. One of the most significant developments working in the Knicks' favor is the absence of their biggest playoff nemesis. The rivalry between New York and Indiana dates back to the legendary battles between John Starks and Reggie Miller in the 1990s. In recent years, this rivalry has been renewed through playoff matchups. The Indiana Pacers have proven to be the thorn in New York's side, consistently finding ways to eliminate the Knicks from postseason contention. While the Knicks have enjoyed success against other Eastern Conference powers, including the Boston Celtics, Cleveland Cavaliers, Detroit Pistons, and Philadelphia 76ers over the past 2 playoff runs, they have struggled to solve Indiana's formula. The Pacers' high-powered offense and exceptional three-point shooting presented matchup problems that the Knicks could not overcome. Their ability to spread the floor and create open looks from distance proved to be the blueprint for defeating New York's defensive schemes. However, this threat has been neutralized for the current season. Indiana suffered a devastating blow when all-star point guard Tyrese Halliburton went down with an Achilles injury during last summer's NBA Finals against the Oklahoma City Thunder. His absence has completely derailed the Pacers' season, as they currently own a dismal 7 wins and 31 losses record. Without their floor general and primary playmaker, Indiana has fallen out of playoff contention entirely. This development removes the team that caused the most problems for the Knicks in recent postseasons. With the Pacers no longer a factor, New York's path through the Eastern Conference becomes significantly less treacherous. The Knicks can focus on other opponents without worrying about the matchup nightmares that Indiana previously presented. Another factor contributing to the Knicks' championship window is the hiring of head coach Mike Brown. The franchise has not won an NBA championship since 1971 and has not reached the finals since 1999 when they faced the San Antonio Spurs. Breaking through these lengthy droughts requires the right leadership and culture. Brown brings extensive winning experience at the highest levels of professional basketball. His resume includes championship success as an assistant coach with the Golden State Warriors, where he helped build a dynasty. Additionally, he demonstrated his ability to turn around struggling franchises when he transformed the Sacramento Kings from a rebuilding team into a playoff contender in 2023. His demanding coaching style and championship pedigree may provide exactly what the Knicks need to reach their full potential. Brown knows how to establish winning standards and hold players accountable. He has proven he can handle the pressure and expectations that come with coaching in major markets and high-stakes situations. Looking across the Eastern Conference landscape, the Knicks should feel confident about their championship chances. Besides the Pacers, who dominated Eastern Conference playoff success over the past 2 seasons, no other team has established clear superiority. This means New York's core group has a legitimate opportunity to break through. That core features all-star point guard Jalen Brunson, versatile big man Karl Anthony Towns, elite defender OG Anunoby, and two-way wing Mikal Bridges. These 4 stars provide the foundation for championship-level basketball. Supporting cast members like Deuce McBride and Mitchell Robinson bring additional skills, while the midseason acquisition of sharpshooter Jordan Clarkson adds valuable scoring punch. The chemistry developed among this group cannot be understated. They have played together, faced adversity together, and grown together. This continuity and familiarity creates an advantage over teams still figuring out how their pieces fit. With the Pacers out of the picture, favorable matchups emerging, experienced leadership in place, and a talented roster hitting its prime, the Eastern Conference is there for the taking. The Knicks must capitalize on this golden opportunity. The New York Knicks may have just lost access to one of their potential trade deadline targets, and it happened due to circumstances completely beyond their control. Daniel Gafford of the Dallas Mavericks, a center who had been discussed as a possible acquisition candidate, might no longer be available as the February trade deadline approaches. Recent injury developments in Dallas have created a situation where the Mavericks cannot afford to part with their only healthy center on the roster. This unfortunate turn of events could actually work in New York's favor by removing a tempting but imperfect option from consideration. The Mavericks have been dealing with a catastrophic injury crisis at the center position. First, they lost Derek Lively II to season-ending foot surgery, removing one of their most promising young big men from the rotation indefinitely. This injury alone would have been significant, but the situation has deteriorated further. Now, Dallas has announced that Anthony Davis is dealing with ligament damage in his left hand that could sideline him for several months. Some reports suggest he may have already played his final game of the season. With both Lively and Davis unavailable, Gafford becomes Dallas's only viable option at center. The Mavericks' depth chart at the position has been decimated. Veteran Dwight Powell remains on the roster and may eventually receive a statue outside American Airlines Center for his contributions to the franchise. But at this stage of his career, he represents a break-in-case of emergency option rather than someone who can handle significant minutes. Moussa Cisse has shown occasional flashes of potential, but he currently sits outside the regular rotation. Additionally, the Mavericks face financial complications that might prevent them from converting his two-way contract into a standard deal without making other roster moves first. He cannot be counted on as a reliable solution. This leaves Gafford as essentially the only healthy center Dallas can deploy consistently. Even if the organization decides to wave the white flag on this season and embrace a tank for draft positioning, they still need actual centers to play center minutes. Defaulting entirely to PJ Washington at the 5 creates matchup problems and becomes unsustainable over an entire season, especially if Washington's current ankle injury persists. Earlier reports from Shams Charania of ESPN indicated that Dallas was prepared to gauge the trade market for Gafford's services back in December. At that time, moving the center seemed like a realistic possibility for a team potentially looking to retool. However, the subsequent injuries to Lively and Davis have completely changed the equation. For the Knicks, Gafford represented an intriguing but complicated trade target. His $14.4 million salary can only be matched through specific combinations. New York would need to either ship out Mitchell Robinson straight up or cobble together multiple smaller contracts headlined by players like Deuce McBride and Guershon Yabusele. If the Knicks have no desire to commit long-term money to Robinson's next contract, flipping him for Gafford holds considerable appeal on the surface. Gafford is signed for 3 more years at an ultra-reasonable $54.4 million total. That averages out to just 10.4% of the salary cap, providing excellent value for a productive center. However, Robinson continues to impact games in ways that Gafford and many others cannot replicate. His defensive instincts, shot-blocking ability, and offensive rebounding prowess make him a difference maker when healthy. Furthermore, if the Knicks remain committed to deploying dual big lineups, Robinson is better equipped to handle defensive assignments that pull him away from the basket and onto the perimeter. The Knicks have been searching for defensive consistency, with much attention focused on point-of-attack defense. But increasing emphasis is being placed on the center position, where Karl-Anthony Towns remains intensely flawed despite his offensive contributions. Ariel Hukporti is too inexperienced, Yabusele is not the long-term answer, and Robinson's availability cannot be guaranteed. Despite these concerns at the position, pursuing Gafford may not represent the best solution. In many ways, Davis's injury could be doing New York a favor by removing an imperfect and potentially problematic option from the trade deadline board. The Knicks might be better served looking elsewhere for help. Interestingly, if Dallas truly embraces a fire sale approach, it could increase the availability of Najee Marshall, who represents a better fit for the salaries New York can realistically offer in trade packages. Marshall brings versatility and defensive intensity that align more closely with what the Knicks actually need. The trade deadline landscape constantly shifts based on injuries, team performance, and front office decisions. For the Knicks, this means continuing to evaluate all options while recognizing that some doors have closed. The focus should remain on finding pieces that address genuine needs rather than pursuing moves simply because they seem possible.